My name is Randy Rubenstein, and welcome to the Mastermind Parenting Podcast. At Mastermind Parenting, we're on a mission to support strong-willed kids and the families that love them. Hi, everyone. I'm here this week with Kate Lund. She's a psychologist.
Yep.
She's a psychologist. She's an author. She's doing many big things. She's a podcaster. And really, I just want to have a conversation about this work that you do, these books that you're writing, what you have to teach us about resilience. I think many of us have heard that concept. We know it's important. I'm hoping that we can kind of break it down and unpack it and help everyone listening to this to just walk away understanding why we want to build resilience in our kids and maybe a few tips on how do we actually do it. So thanks for being here today and talking to me about all these important concepts.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, so where I really wanted to get started was why? Why are you teaching this? Why is this work important to you? Where does it come from? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's very important to me. It's sort of at the core of who I am as a person. And that really started developing, I'm convinced, back when I was 4. I was diagnosed with a medical condition called hydrocephalus, which essentially is when the cerebrospinal fluid doesn't circulate as it should, causing pressure to build up on the brain. So, at 4, the imaging technology wasn't so great. So it was back in the mid 70s. So they really couldn't figure out, they didn't know why I had gotten so sick so suddenly. Really bad headaches, no balance, throwing up in the middle of the night. And it took a really long time for folks to figure it out. It was really, really a challenging, obviously, situation for me as the kid, not knowing what was going on, as well as my parents. The good news is that hydrocephalus can be managed with something called a shunt. It's a drain, essentially, that's inserted in the ventricles of the brain that then circulates the fluid for the person with the hydrocephalus. So, I got a shunt when I was 4.5 and have had it ever since. And the good news is when it works, it's great, right? But in childhood, particularly, they break. So there was a lot of hospitalization. There was a lot of coming back to school, looking different, feeling different. I often had like half of my head was shaved. I had these big glasses. It was tough stuff. And so I had a great support system, and I was really helped to focus on what I could do as opposed to what I couldn't do. And I think that really helped me to figure out, okay, there are going to be these challenges. There are these things that are really, really hard, but I can circumvent it. I can figure out a way forward. And I think that idea was really integrated, instilled in me very early, and it's just developed ever since. And then, of course, became a psychologist, did a lot of work in my early life as a psychologist, my early training with kids with major medical issues, worked in a pediatric burn hospital for a couple of years. So really kind of merged my own experiences early on, kept it in my head, obviously wasn't sharing it with patients, but it was sort of a foundation for where I was coming from. And I think the way that I then was able to help folks kind of articulate, well, this is awful, this is hard, this is a challenge, but how can I move forward? What is it that I can do to help me maximize my potential within my own unique context, the context which might have shifted? So that's a really long-winded story of why resilience, why I'm so passionate about all of this, and why I'm focused on this work.
Well, I don't think it's long-winded. I could go down many rabbit holes in your story. I think your story is fascinating, and to have such early experiences with pretty, intense. I mean, what does a 4-year-old understand about having to go into the hospital? And I'm guessing what got you there was you were already having a lot of headaches. at 4 as a
Yeah.
young child?
Yeah, I got pretty sick when I was 4, just like out of the blue. I mean, I had been fine, right? And just started getting really bad headaches. And how does a 4-year-old really articulate a headache? It would be like my forehead hurts, and then I would throw up all over the place because the pressure in that
Mhm.
moment in my head was way too high. And so, I don't remember exactly how I understood it. I just knew that, you know, one day I was in a CAT scanner, which was very archaic in those days, and getting giant shots to, and it was frightening. It was very frightening. But again, I was very fortunate in that I did have a strong support system in my parents. I had some very close friends, their parents, teachers at school were always very kind to me when I came back. So it was awful. It was hard, but I did have that support on the other side, which was very fortunate.
Well, I think that if we could just kinda you know, pause there. I mean, obviously, no parent wants their kids to go through a severe, or have to be diagnosed with a severe medical condition. I mean, it's kind of every parent's worst nightmare. And I think that you talking about your support system, like the fact that your parents showed up and sort of shepherded you through that, right? Like a little kid is going through scary things and your parents, I told you before we started recording, I often refer to this term pack leadership. Like every kid wants to know, like, they got me, right? So
Yeah.
here you are going through some really, really scary experiences as a young child who can't probably understand what's happening to me. And your parents are going through like a nightmare
hmm
and they're able to show up for you and to help you feel held and safe and supported. Like that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And, I reflect back on that these days, right, in my own work and also in some volunteer work that I do. I work out at Seattle Children's Hospital as a volunteer these days with my dog, Wally, who I'd always wanted to train a dog to be a therapy dog who could visit in pediatric hospitals. And I did that with my dog Wally, who's about to turn 4, and it's awesome. We go out there, and I see that exactly what you're talking about. Each time that we're at the hospital, seeing parents in situations that I imagine my own parents were in back in the day, and seeing how they're showing up for their kids, and then in those moments that Wally and I are there, I think we make a big difference for both the kid as well as the parents. Sometimes the child will be kind of in a place where they don't really want a dog visit, but the parent inevitably will come out in the hall and have their own visit with Wally. And so yeah, it's so important what parents can give back to their kids in these situations. And then how we can figure out, because this is a lot of the work I do these days, supporting the parents, to help them be as resilient as they can from the inside out, not only for their own sense of well being, but for their kids.
And if you could define the term resilience, like how would you define that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's a question I get a lot. And it's, oftentimes folks think of resilience as sort of bouncing back from a challenge, but really I'm looking at it more broadly than that. It's really how do we integrate kind of strategies, a way of living into our day to day that's going to help us to maximize our potential within our own unique context. And, that's really how I'm looking at resilience. It's more like a lifestyle or a way of being day to day. And obviously, at points, it's going to be easier than others. And, challenges are inevitable, they're going to pop up. But it's really more of a integrated way of living as opposed to just bouncing back from like a challenge here and there, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was interesting. I've gone down. Do you remember the show Survivor?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so Survivor, I didn't realize until this summer is still on the air. Um,
Okay. I didn't realize that either. It's crazy.
I think it's now season 49. Okay.
Wow.
So I watched Survivor like 20 something years ago,
Right.
back when it first started. I think many of us, that's before reality shows were really a thing.
Yep.
And many of us watched Survivor.
Mhm.
And so I think I watched like the first 3 seasons, and then somebody said, "You've got to watch season 48 of Survivor." And I was like, "Season 48? That show's still on the air?" I didn't even know it was still on the air. So this summer I watched season 48 with 2 of my kids, my young adult kids, and obsessed. Okay. We were obsessed. And the reason why season 48 was so impactful is one of the participants has autism,
Mm.
and or is autistic. I don't know the correct terminology. And she doesn't, you don't know she has autism until she confides in her alliance. And so it's really interesting. So she gets out there, and all you know about her is that she's this young woman, and she is fit, and she is an athlete, and she connects with this older man who's a firefighter, who's just this incredible guy, Joe. And so Eva is the young woman. And so Eva and Joe, they form this bond, this alliance early on. And he's almost like a big brother or kind of a father figure to her, and he's just a good guy.
Mhm.
And she confides in him early on, and she says, "I have autism." And so what we knew about her was that she played on an all male hockey team. She was just like this fit and strong competitor. um, and she said, I have autism, and sometimes my system gets overwhelmed,
Mhm.
and when it does, um like you might see my hands start doing a thing. And so she's self-advocating. And so she says, she describes what happens to her when her system is flooded and she's overwhelmed, and maybe she's headed towards like a neuro crash, right?
Mhm.
And so Joe says, "What can I do? What can I do to support you?" Eventually she told everyone that she had autism. But the message throughout was, my parents taught me there is nothing wrong with me.
Mhm.
My autism is a part of me.
Yes, that's such a great point. I love this. And it's one of these things. It's like we can have something, we can have a condition, we can have something like this young woman with the autism, and it's a part of us, right? It's not the thing, the singular thing that defines us. And I think that's a really important message for kids to get early on, really about anything, but particularly if there's a challenge like a medical thing or something that sets them apart as different, either noticeably or perhaps on an invisible level. Like at times autism can come across that way, and hydrocephalus as well, right?
Hmm.
My head wasn't shaved when and it took me a while to be fully comfortable with talking to others about it, because it was such a sort of central part of my childhood that when I was good, when things were going well, I didn't want to deal with it. I just didn't want to, I didn't want it to be at the forefront. And so that was another piece that helped me kind of strike a balance. But the reality was it wasn't going away, right? And when I was 18, for example, they figured out why I had the hydrocephalus, and it happened to be a brain tumor that was blocking the aqueduct. And the imaging back in the day when I was younger wasn't good enough to see it. And obviously, I'm extremely fortunate. It was low grade, right? But it was still getting bigger. And so they had to do something about it. So between 18 and 19, I had basically a year of hospitalization, surgery. It was after that point that I was able to integrate more on an adult level and be able to share these experiences over time. when it felt like it was necessary. Otherwise, it was sort of off the table, if that makes sense. But
Mhm.
it's striking a balance in a way that works. Um, because it's always going to be a part of you, and where that part of you is going to live is something to kind of figure out over time, and it might shift or change. But the important piece, as you were describing with the survivor story, is yeah, not to let it define you and to recognize all of the other aspects of yourself as a human being, or whatever it is you want to do, your ability to see possibility on the other side of the challenges that you face, and to go after your dreams and your goals, and not be held back by the things that are hard.
I th I would love for you to talk about the trampoline story. Do you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard you on another podcast, and that story really stuck out to me.
Oh boy, yes, the trampoline story. That was a hard one because so I was 12, right? And I had probably just had a hospitalization, or I probably just had something, but I was invited to this birthday party. And really at that time, right? So everyone in that period of my life knew this thing about me because I was in and out of the hospital, and I was always, but again, when things were good, I didn't want to think about it. So I was at this birthday party, and I frankly, I knew that I shouldn't go on the trampoline. And it's one of the things, there's certain things I really can't do. Like I can't go on crazy upside down rides. I couldn't do gymnastics. I just shouldn't be upside down, all these things. And I knew that the equilibrium on the trampoline would be an issue. But in that moment, I threw caution to the wind, and I got on the trampoline and I bounced with the other girls. I was a 12th birthday party. Who wouldn't want to bounce with the other girls, right? And I did. And for a while, it was great. Like I was bouncing and I was having fun, and it was good. It was all good. But then it wasn't good. I mean, literally, the world started spinning and I got really sick. I was like flat out for like a week. Really, really messed with my equilibrium. And it was really sad. I was really upset, but I also recognized that after a little thought later on, that oops, really shouldn't have done that. And I guess a lesson looking back, and it was one I integrated pretty quickly after that point, I had to live within my own context. I knew the boundaries, right? I knew what was going to be good for me and what wasn't going to be good for me, or what was going to push me over the edge, which that did. And so regained my equilibrium, luckily. And because at that point, I mean, yeah, I was so sick. I mean, I was like, spinning, and it was bad. Um, but I think really it highlighted for me this idea that living within your own context is key. And there's always space to do that, and really defining what it is that's going to help you be at your best or maximize your potential or whatever. And one thing that kind of goes along with that story is the fact that, I couldn't play contact sports. I really wanted to be a hockey player. I thought it would be really cool to play hockey like my brother or some of my friends, but that was out because I could have fallen or gotten hit in the head or whatever. So I became a tennis player. Tennis non-contact. Some of my best friends to this day are people that I played tennis with back in the day, and really give credit to the support that I got on the courts, because it was pretty good. I was never the best, but I was pretty good. And my friends' parents really supported me. My own parents really supported me in that. And that was something that I could really do to maximize my own potential and my own identity as a kid who, yeah, I've got this thing. I can't bounce on trampolines, but I can do this, and I'm okay. I'm pretty good at it, and it's fun, and it makes me feel like I'm a part of. So yeah, that was the trampoline story, and it was an ugly story, ugly time.
Right, and I think it's so easy as parents to sort of like, think about, well, I don't want my kid to feel less than, you know? Right? Like I don't want my kid to feel other. I don't want my kid to be the only one who can't jump on the trampoline or can't, what's that going to do to their self-esteem? But really, it's like, well, you went through this experience, and 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 then you had a week of hell, it
Mhm.
sounds like.
Yeah.
And that was pretty impactful. I mean, my hunch is that you tested the waters at 12, because that's what you're supposed to do in adolescence, right? Like you're pruning away. Okay, I've gotten all these lessons all these years. Now I'm trying to figure out, who am I growing into being? What lessons do I want to keep with me, and where do I want to kind of test the waters? I mean, that is sort of, right, the nature of adolescence. And so probably like all the messages you had gotten up until that point was, trampolines are off the table for you.
Right. Yeah.
But here you are, and all the other girls are jumping, and so you threw caution to the wind and you did it. And then unfortunately you paid the price. And okay, trampolines are off the table for me, right?
Yeah.
After that, like, you really got it. Hockey's off the table. What is on the table for me? Right. And
Mhm.
so then, and then you had this amazing experience. And I think you're really humble, because I also heard you talk about tennis. And didn't you go to college and play tennis in college?
I did. Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Okay, so you were pretty good. I would say you were very good. I mean, to be able to play tennis in college, you got to have a certain skill level. I mean, that's, so there's that. So here you are, like the kid growing up with hydrocephalus, and you became a good enough tennis player to play tennis in college. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate, and I had the opportunities to play, and I feel actually really grateful about my ability to play in college, particularly because the year before I went to college, this when I was a senior in high school, I was captain of my tennis team in high school, and everything was going well. And it was that spring that I kind of wasn't feeling very well, right? I was, and that's when the MRI with gadolinium had just come out, and they're like, she's not feeling very well. We've got this great imaging technology now. Why don't we have her have an MRI? And that's when they saw the tumor, right? And who knows if the tumor was really doing anything at that point, but I wasn't feeling well. So we addressed it. And so took a year off between high school and college and was very, very sick. So the fact that I was able to recover, really, I felt grateful about that and get back to the point where I could play in college, and that they still took me on the team, because there too, I I was on the team and I played, and I was a pretty good practice partner for the number one singles player on the team. But I was not, at that level necessarily, but it didn't matter, because that's the thing. Like, that's the message that, and I give my own boys this message as well. As long as you're playing within your own unique context, doing the best that you can, being a good teammate, you're part of it, right? And that's oftentimes enough. You don't have to be the top dog necessarily, right? So I don't know. I think that was a really important lesson that I learned as well there. And I hold that, moving forward. I mean, I loved my time in college, and I loved the fact that I was able to be a part of that team for as long, as I was. I started my sophomore year. I needed a minute to get back up to speed, but yeah, it was awesome.
I mean, it's a pretty inspiring story. And I love what you pointed out. Like, okay, I wasn't going to be the best. It wasn't about necessarily being the best, but it was about being a part of a team.
Hmm.
It was right. Like, I was a great practice partner for the number one. I made lifelong connections, people I'm still friends with to this day. Like, what are we valuing? Do you need to be the best at everything? Or is it enough a lot of times to just be a part of it?
Exactly. I think that's such a great point, and that's really where I fall out, right? Because that's what my life experience has taught me. And I think that in modeling it for my boys, I really believe that that's been helpful for them, as they've moved through. They're 18 now, and they're kind of, grappling with these college decisions and, where they fall out on their crew teams and all of this. And they're probably a little bit more focused on being at the top of the pack than I was, and that's fine, right? It's just that message of doing their best within their own unique context, whatever that looks like for them, that's really stuck and I think has made a difference for each of them. And I think it's an important message to instill early, regardless of who the kid is, because the reality is not everybody's going to be the best. Not everyone's going to be able to be at the top of the pack. So, to see the other strengths and attributes that they're bringing to the table across domains, I think is essential for overall sense of well-being and just in general.
And like, why is it important to be at the top of the pack? Like, it's like the obsession with being number one and being the best when, as human beings, don't we all want, I mean, we're pack animals. Like, don't we want to be? I mean, I feel like in so many ways, we've lost the plot,
Mhm.
right? Like to be a part of something and to know that you're never going to be a winning team if everyone is just vying for number one. Like everybody's got their strengths and they bring different skill sets to the team. And so I just think that there's so much focus on winning and being the best and where's your class ranking and who's recruiting you and really, like, I think sometimes maybe being number one or striving for that makes people feel like, yeah, I might have an impressive resume or a lot of trophies, but does that person actually feel quite alone,
Right.
right?
It's really right. It's really, I believe, playing for the joy of it from the inside out, right? As opposed to those external accolades. Because yeah, I know, I've worked with kids too who, they really, I don't think had that drive from the inside out. It was more like the trophies they were getting and the accolades. And then, eventually that always stops, right? You've got to ultimately stand on your own 2 feet and kind of take a passion or a skill in a sport or what have you, whatever it is, forward without that external validation. And it sometimes it develops earlier rather than later, and sometimes it's more of a process. For me, I think I got it early because of my experiences, because of the things I couldn't do, as opposed to those that I could. But yeah, I think it's an important message for all of our kids. I think and I think it's benefited our boys who don't have the physical stuff that I had, but they've everyone's got challenges, right? And to integrate those in a way that allows you to be at your best, I think is the most important piece. Most important thing we can really offer our kids.
To be at your best doesn't necessarily mean being the best.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
precisely the point. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such an interesting point. And if we really think like, and I coach parents all the time, when we get into the nitty-gritty, why parents so often, I think, find it unbearable when their kids are experiencing upset or discomfort, right? Like even down to, right. I just coached a mom she just recently weaned her 2-year-old. He just turned 2. And now she's going through like trying to, he's learning how to basically go to sleep and soothe himself when he was used to being soothed by her
Mhm.
for his whole life. And so there's a lot of discomfort in that. And it was bringing up a lot in her. And we really kind of broke down this getting comfortable with human discomfort and how hard it is when it's this human that you feel responsible for, and all you want is for them to feel comfortable. And I'm like, but doesn't the human experience involve discomfort? Period.
Right.
And so we were talking about um like, why are we so uncomfortable with the discomfort? And I thought, you know, all any parent really wants is they want their kid to feel good in their body, good in their skin, and to know, even when, to have the resilience to know, even when I'm experiencing discomfort, I will not feel this way forever. Like, we will get through this, like that self-belief. And to know also, like I have people, right? Like, I'm not all alone in this. First, I have my family, I have my support system, then I go out into the world, I join teams, I have my people. It's never about being a human being who doesn't experience discomfort, is automatically the best at everything, And I think sometimes it's these basic concepts, when we get back to them, it really is. It's like we've complicated being a human being so much. And how do we get back to these basic concepts, which is we just all want to know we have people that we go with, we feel seen, we're not alone, we can get through hard things.
Exactly. So, so good, right? And, as parents also, and this is something that my husband and I have really tried to practice with our boys, in a developmentally appropriate way, to not be afraid to share our own failures. I don't love that word failure, but challenges, the things that have been hard for us, whatever the domain, I think is a very valuable opportunity for our kids, and really sets the foundation for them to understand that it's okay not to be perfect. It's okay to have challenges. It's okay to struggle. And it really then instills in them their own ability to move through and beyond whatever the challenge might be. And again,
Mm.
easier said than done, but I think it's important for us as parents to not project like perfection.
That was that mom. It's so funny that you bring up perfection, because that was the part that was coming up for her.
Mm.
And she even identified what that perfection part looked like. I said, "How old is she within you?" She was 7. She was
Mhm.
in a starched white perfect dress with perfect pigtails. And I mean, it was that exact thing. And we really unpacked and looked at that perfection part. Um, so I think you bring up a good point. I think that, so often that is what stalls us out, is this striving to be perfect. And whether we're it's like all the parents that are like, just give me the script, just let me memorize the thing. How should I say that? I'm like, it
Mhm.
doesn't freaking matter how you say it.
Right.
Don't you know, it's what energy are you bringing forth, and let's figure out how to get there. It's not really the script. Yeah, I think this perfection piece is what stalls a lot of people out.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and really there's no such thing as perfection. And the thing that is so important is there really is no script, right? It's authenticity that's really at the core, that's really so important. And that yeah, that's a really important piece. So to help parents, figure out what it looks like, what it means for them to be authentic, with their kids, in their relationship with their kids, just in general, that's really, really important, I think.
So good. Well, tell us about, you've written a book, and Bounce, help your child build resilience and thrive in school, sports, and life. And so that was when did that book come out?
Yeah, so that book came out in 2017, and really a parenting manual with a focus on the child. How can we as parents help kids to kind of build a foundation in resilience? Looks at 7 pillars that kind of came out of my own lived experience, my experience watching my kids at through elementary school and that kind of early middle school, and also my clinical work. 20 years as a psychologist. Brought these things together and created these 7 pillars. And so that book, really fun, really successful. And cool thing is the pillars all apply to all of us across the lifespan. um, And so, kind of on the heels of that book, well, many, many years later now, I've got my new book coming out called Step Away: The Keys to Resilient Parenting. And that really looks at how can we as parents build that resilient lifestyle, be as resilient as we possibly can within our own unique context, and then how can we model that for our kids and to help them kind of build some of that resilience into their own lifestyle, into their own kind of life and way of being. And so, really excited about it. We're in soft launch now. So, it is available on ebook on Amazon for 99 cents in our soft launch. And then we'll launch it for real. The paperback will come out the first week of October.
So can you, like, what made you write this book?
Yeah, so such a great question. And was really thinking about sort of what the next iteration of Bounce could be. But really, it comes from, again, my own lived experience as a parent over the past 18 years, thinking about how my own resilience has ebbed and flowed over those 18 years. And what were the things that really helped me to build resilience as a parent and as a person in those early years when my kids were very young, and all of that had some experiences. My husband was on the road for 6 days a week when the boys were infants, and so that was a little bonkers. And so integrating my own, again, lived experience with the experiences of clients, things I've seen through my clinical work, that sort of thing, really is the main reason for why I wrote the book. Really integrating these three lenses, because my other lens is my own experience as a kid and thinking about what my parents went through. So stories related to all of that are woven through the text, and I think are at the core of why I decided to write the book and some of the things I want to do with it moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And what are you hoping that the readers take away from it?
I really would like the readers to take away this idea that there's no one size fits all. And I talk about the importance of really defining and understanding your own unique context and the ways in which you can maximize your potential within that context as a parent, as a human being, and how you can help your kids to do the same. And there's some really sort of core concepts, core strategies that I outline related to managing your stress response. And that's sort of at the core of building a resilient lifestyle. Sort of, we want to be level each day, easier said than done. But we don't want to be starting up here in terms of our stress levels, such that when a challenge hits, boom, we escalate to the point of shutdown, right? So, talk a lot about weaving in things that we can do each day to keep ourselves level. And then, some of the other kind of strategies and things that we can do as parents to support ourselves to be at our best. But really want people to walk away with, okay, there's no one size fits all in parenting. There's no one size fits all in building resilience. But how can I build the awareness of myself to understand what I need to be at my best, such that then I can help my kids to do the same?
I like to say, I think parenting, nobody tells you when you're becoming a parent, oh, welcome to the ultimate personal development program. Oh,
Yeah,
and you're going to be responsible for raising human beings while you're doing this. But this is an invitation because you're going to face yourself and then some as you embark on this journey. And you got to keep people alive while you're at it.
absolutely. Yeah, so much. So true, right? Yeah, and so I think that's really the core thing that I'd like folks to walk away with, as well as, and this goes along with your own unique context. Please don't compare yourselves to others, right? Because it's again focusing on your own context and not worrying about what others think or what they're doing. And again, easier said than done. I mean, much easier said than done, but an important concept to slowly integrate over time.
Well, I mean, Brene Brown, I think we've all heard her, what does she say? Comparison's the thief of joy,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's natural to fall into the compare and despair
Of
um,
course.
mindset because we're pack animals.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're comparing yourself to like, do I have a place here? Is my spot here in this pack, in this tribe, in this community? Is it secure? Am I measuring up? Are they going to think I'm pulling my weight? Am I going to look bad? Will I have the status? Like all those things are such human parts of all of us.
Yes.
And so I think it's like, okay, of course I've fallen into comparison because hello, I'm a human being
Mm-hmm.
and good for me that I'm noticing it.
Right. Exactly. That's so important to notice, right? That peace, that self awareness, that awareness of what's driving the way you're feeling, very important. And that's
Yeah.
another thing that we bring up in the book as well.
Do you have any sort of stories that you feel like you can share that from the book, maybe just like a little snapshot of a story um, that you liked writing about and I don't know, I would love to hear if there's a little story you want to share. Give us a sneak peek.
Yeah, well, sure. I definitely, so all of the stories that I put in the book are kind of composite stories, kind of integrating different elements of real stories, right? Such that we want to protect the confidentiality and such. But there's one in particular, one client that I worked with, the story up front in the book, um, came to me really sort of burned out, exhausted, manifesting with a lot of anxiety, depression, really was at loose ends as a parent, as a person, really struggling. And over time, got to the core of what the main goal was. And that was to return to her life as a serious triathlete, but couldn't fathom this happening. And so over time, did the work, self awareness, tools, managing stress response, all of these things. And this person got back to competing in triathlon, at a very high level. And to see the impact of that, of the work and how this person got to that point, and then the ripple effect for the rest of her life, as well as, the life of her family, her kids, was really quite powerful, quite inspiring, and something that, inspires me to this day.
Mm.
It's really cool to see what's possible on that level. And a lot of that really focused on, okay, well, maybe my triathlon journey is going to look different than it did 30 years ago, but that's okay. And how can we redefine, recreate, and what is this next version going to look like? And quite honestly, it looks pretty cool, and integrating, this person was able to integrate from the inside out what she really wanted to go after, was able to put the pieces in place and make it happen. And it was pretty cool, but again, within their own unique context, and not really looking at what had been or what others were doing necessarily.
That's so interesting. It's my husband. It has a very similar story. He did these mini triathlons years ago, and he just signed up for. He's training right now for one. He hasn't done one in I want to say 15 or 20 years. No, maybe 15 years because he has back issues and running is really hard.
Uh-huh.
And we've been spending a lot of time apart this summer. And frankly, because I've been in San Diego more and he's been in Houston, and he was set. And I could tell it's like, I am not the person I was back then. And so how do I meet myself where I am now? And it's been interesting to hear him go through the process, and he's having it's the process. He's having so much fun. It fulfilled the purpose. He's like, all about the train. He's such a little rule follower. It's like, he's like, all about the training. And it's been inspiring to me, and he's been more fun to be around. Right. So I don't have to feel guilty every time because I'm like, I'm over here living my life, and I'd love for you to be out here with me, but you can't be all the time.
Mhm.
And so his work keeps him, more stationary.
Mhm.
And so instead of me feeling guilty or bad, now I get to feel more connected to him. I get to feel inspired. He gets to share this. So I do think there's a lot of ripple effects of that. So yeah.
Absolutely. I love that example. That's because that's spot on, right? Because when our husband or partner or whatever is happy and engaged in something that's meaningful to them, and if there's that added bonus that, exercise is going to increase our mood state, help with anxiety, whatever, that's an added bonus. But I completely agree. And you guys have this fun thing to talk about, meaningful thing. And yeah, I love that. That's a great example.
Yeah, I love that. Well, so when does the book come out? You're in soft land. So already you can get it on Amazon, but the actual physical book is
Right.
not
The actual
available
physical
yet.
book is not quite available yet. That will be the week of October 6th. So super
Oh,
excited about that. But yeah, right now it's in soft launch, ebook only. But yeah, really exciting. It's been a great project. I'm really excited about it.
yeah. This is amazing. Well, I love your story. I love what you're teaching and putting out there. I heard a lot of growth mindset,
Yes.
right, from the inside out,
Mhm.
and helping our kids to feel inspired to, you know, to be motivated from the inside out. It's not necessarily about the trophies and the achievements and the and status. It's how does this make you feel inside, right? Getting to be a part of something is sort of the point. And really helping our kids to figure out how to thrive, right? To figure out, I like to say it's like having the courage to be in beginner's mindset again and again and again. Like, you're not going to just know how to do a thing. You've got to start. And when we first, I just started learning. I'm in a training program right now, and one of my instructors said, Conf- confusion before conclusion.
Nice.
Because,
Thanks so much.
and I thought, I loved that, because I was like, I feel so confused right now. I'm second guessing all these things. And the instructor said, whoa, whoa, whoa. We like to say, yeah, it's part of the learning process. Confusion comes before conclusion. You have to be willing to be, and it's uncomfortable to be in confusion, right? And
Yeah.
so I just think all these concepts are so important, not just for our kids, but for ourselves too. So thank you for doing this amazing work and putting it out into the world and helping all of us.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed this conversation. It's been really fun.
Really fun. Okay. Thanks, everyone. And thanks for listening. Bye for now. Thanks for listening today, guys. I hope you picked up some tips, tools, maybe some baby steps for creating more balance and boundaries in your life. And I just wanted to let you know, if you want to continue moving the needle forward in creating this for yourself, having a happier household, I want you to go to my website and check out mastermindparenting.com. We have 3 beginning programs, and if you need some accountability and more support, then please look for the one that would be a good fit for you. And as always, we're on all the social channels under Mastermind Parenting. On Instagram, it's mastermind_parenting. And periodically I do pop up on different Instagram lives, Facebook lives, where I give you teaching and coaching, and I love engaging with you live to help you help your strong-willed kids so that they can feel better, because when they feel better, they do better. And I love, love, love getting to know you guys. So thanks for listening. If you like this podcast, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Super, super appreciative.